Welcome to the Outdoor Genetics Podcast. Whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been following us from the beginning, we are glad that you're here. Outdoor Genetics is proudly sponsored by Chum Bums. Chum Bums is an outdoor adventure community and is owned and operated by military vets and promotes conservative American values. There's no paid advertisements on this social media platform. They never sell or own your data, and you can create your own private group within this secured platform. Chum Bums is an outdoor adventure community where you can shop discounted products in the members-only outlet store and book an adventure with one of their adventure partners. These groups are truly designed for the outdoorsman. Guys, make sure to check out Chum Bums. That's CHUMBUMZ. All right, guys. We have Orlando Vivone here with us today as our guest speaker. Orlando, thanks for jumping on this podcast with us, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, we're glad to have you on. You had said that you had some hunting stories and stuff that you've done that you would love to share, and we would love to hear it. But before we get into those stories, tell us a little bit just about who you are, how you got started in the woods and in hunting and everything that you do. Let us know who you are.
Sure, absolutely. Well, at first, I am an avid outdoorsman, absolutely love to hunt. And how it all basically ended up getting started was my dad, he, as a boy, he did a little bit of hunting here and there, but he never was a real hunter like, how we are, going out all the time and doing it. He just basically would go out with the cousins and family and do it when he could. And so he never really ever taught me really to do anything. And so basically hunting saved my life. I was getting into a bunch of trouble as a teenager, young adult, doing stupid things and, kind of learning the hard way on life by doing those stupid things. And one day out of the blue, my cousin and uncle, who are avid hunters and they've been hunters for a while, hit me up out of nowhere to go on a duck hunt, and they asked if I had any hunting equipment. And I told them I have absolutely nothing, but I am very interested. What all do I need? So they told me if you could just go get some camo, buy a shotgun and shells, and buy your duck stamp and get your hunting license, you'll be good to go. So I literally rushed right to Walmart, got everything they said I needed at the very last second, and they took me on my first hunt the following morning. And that's really what opened up the whole game for me, in all honesty. That morning, just watching them put out the decoys and sitting in a little cove on some public ground and watching them set it all out and just, saying, sit down, get ready, blah, blah, blah. It's just about to be, about to be shooting time. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little skeptical. I was kind of looking around like, these guys really think they're gonna pull some wild ducks out of the sky, and these ducks are really gonna believe their calls and these decoys? I was a little skeptical. I was like, there's no way. And then not too far into shooting time comes, they, hitting the duck call, getting everything going, and before we know it, we got a pile of ducks in the boat, and I'm just at awe. My jaw was just dropped. I was having such a good time. And in all honesty, they were even telling me it wasn't, been on plenty of duck hunts where we've had, just ducks galore in the boat. And this one, wasn't, one of those duck hunts, but it was still enough for me, it just grasped my mind. And that's what really took me from then on. And that's how it got started. And about a week or so after that, I was telling another family friend about how much I just enjoyed it. And he was telling me, he's like, if you really want to get into it, I got a friend of mine that's, he's more into it than you, because this is when I was just getting started. He's more into it than you. And if you want to go with him, he'd love to take you. He likes taking newbies. And going with somebody who I had no idea whom it was or who this guy is, I was a little nervous. I told my dad, this is the person who I'm going with. we're going to this spot just in case, heaven forbid, I ended up not making it out of there. But no, this guy was telling me, he's like, if you're down to, if you're down to hunt and you're really into it, I'll get you going. And my buddy Andrew, him and my uncle and my cousin are basically the guys who got it all started in for me, and I owe a lot of it to them. But in all honesty, they did mostly waterfowl, and Andrew got me a little bit more into pheasant hunting as well. But I ended up just with not having a dad to teach me how. Well, I have the father, but just not one that hunts to teach me really what to do. I've honestly learned pheasant hunting, turkey hunting, deer hunting, everything on my own. It's been. I started in my first year out was, I think it was 2016, 2015. So, it was just been a game changer ever since then.
Well, duck hunting, getting starting in duck hunting, I think that's an awesome way for people to, introduce somebody new into the outdoor world, the hunting lifestyle, right? Because if you think about it, duck hunting, waterfowl hunting, I should say in general, is so social.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's the best part about it, is this, like, you don't have to be too quiet. You can goof around with your buddies or family, and then if you got a bonus, and get get a little grill in there and do some bacon and eggs as well.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. My very first time duck hunting, and I loved how you said it. No, we didn't just have a boat full of ducks, or whatever. But my very first time duck hunting was very much so similar. I've been hunting since I was just a kid, but I really only started waterfowl hunting going on about maybe 6 years ago. And sure. I had a friend of mine. Him and I were having a cookout one day, and he goes, "Man, John, I know you've been saying you want to get into waterfowl hunting." He said, "You see that guy over there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Go talk to him about waterfowl hunting." And I walked up to him and introduced myself. And now, me and this guy, he's actually one of my best friends. He's one of the co-hosts on Outdoor Genetics. This is Tim Ramming. And this guy took me out the next morning, and I think we shot 2 ducks right off the bat. And at that point, I was like, okay, I know this is for me. Like, we were sitting there laughing, cutting up, having a good time. He's trying to show me how to use a duck call, and of course, at that time, I didn't know nothing. I mean, I knew like deer calls and turkey calls and stuff like that, but I didn't know nothing. And so I'm sitting there trying to toot around on this thing, and I'm sure, I know it sounded horrible. And, we're laughing and cutting up, and then here comes ducks, we get quiet. And then boom, 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 no, we didn't walk out with a bunch of ducks, but from that moment on, I was like, okay, waterfowl hunting, this is awesome. And I think that's a great way to get people started in this industry, because it is, like I said, so social, it's fun, and it still gives you that chance to, for the camaraderie, yes, but you're also still putting food on the table. I love hearing that kind of stuff. That is awesome.
Absolutely. And then one of the other big things that I ended up loving most about waterfowl hunting too, same with upland hunting as well, is when I went out with my buddy Andrew, and when he was getting me started, he had a duck dog or a bird dog, whatever you want to call it. And
sure.
Seeing that dog, as you know what I mean, have just as much passion and dedication, if not more than we did, just that drive in that dog, and seeing the dog work, that was another game changer. Seeing that on top of that, it was just, I wanted a bird dog so bad, but for just getting started, and I living back and forth between different places, I didn't have any room for a big dog, and so I was the dog for the longest time, going in those hard to reach places, and it's not the funnest being the dog, but you got to do what you got to do to learn.
Right. Well, you're not wrong. I thankfully over the last 2 years, 2 years ago, I ended up getting myself a lab, and he's still green, but you can tell it's almost instinctive for him. I mean, he before I got him, he was never trained to do this kind of stuff. And when I started taking him out, you could tell at first he was like, I know I need to do something, but I don't know what. And, just getting him out there, working with him. And now, every time we go duck hunting, he's with us. But I agree 100% for us when we're, after I don't know how y'all's season is up there where you're at, but I know down here we have a split that, separates the season.
Yeah, same here.
After that split, it down here is when it starts getting cold, and that's when we start seeing more ducks.
Sure.
And we had one year, it was towards the end of season, it was stupid cold. We did not have a dog with us. This was maybe my second year of waterfowl hunting. And we shot 2 ducks that ended up getting hung up in some free-floating moss that was out in the middle of the pond.
Okay.
And they were like, well, we can, there ain't, you're either going to have to swim out there in that freezing water or you're going to have to leave them. And I'm like, well, so much of what I eat every year is what we kill, catch, and grow. So
exactly.
I'm not going to let them go to waste. So
nope.
I literally stripped down to my underwear and went out there sinking up to my knees and my butt in just straight mud and going out there, and I got those ducks. And of course all the guys are cracking up, laughing, and being the dog, I love the way you said it, being the dog, oh my gosh, sometimes it does suck.
It does, but some people just don't, I mean, at least for non-hunters, just don't know what we will do and how hard we work for our food. We work so hard for what we do. We put on so many miles, the time, the tags, all this money adds all on up, and it's just a blessing just to get one, and like you said, we put so much effort into that. I actually, my first time, this is a long story short, but it's a good one. My first time actually going on my solo buck hunt was back in 2019, just a few years ago, and basically it was opening day on some public land down in southern Iowa, and it was going smooth. I was seeing deer in the timber a little bit, but not getting close enough. Like I said, it was my first time, so I had a lot of learning to do. And so it started kind of sleeting on me, and I was just getting real cold, and the days were just, hours are going by, and at that time not having any luck, and just kind of getting down on myself, like, man, I could hear gunshots going off in the distance, and everybody else is having a good time but me. So I said, you know what, I had a trail camera set really, really deep in the middle of this timber, or not in the middle, in like an open field in this timber. And so I was like, you know what, go in there. It's already shotgun season. If you spook something up, you shoot one, fantastic. If not, just check this camera and see what's on it. And that way you come back first thing in the morning and know what's on it and know what to do. Anywho, as I was coming into that field to check the camera, I look over to my left, and here's this buck, coming, at the time, I thought it was just a giant bee, my first buck, it's just it's just a little 8-pointer, but hey, it's what gets the heart going, so my
That's
heart
right.
is exactly, my heart's just racing, and I see this buck, and it's, I'd say 60 yards coming, not right at me, but diagonally, and poof, I had a smooth bore shotgun, like I said, still kind of learning, so I didn't have a slug barrel or nothing, and that you could just see that bullet didn't go anywhere remotely close to him, and he started I started running the same way. I figured he'd turn around and go the opposite way, but no, he started running right into diagonal, and finally put him down, and I didn't know what to do at that point. I finally got this big buck down. It's my first time shooting a big deer like this, and it was starting to get dark. It's winter time, and dark gets pretty it gets dark pretty fast, and so I'm dragging this. I'm not even kidding you, my man, I probably had just over a mile in timber to drag this thing out, and there was no way I was going to be able to do this, and even as good a shape I was in at the time. So I put him up against a bank, kind of like leaned his head up, just so it looked like he was just staring right at you in case a coyote came by. I was like, maybe that'll spook him away from it instead of eating my deer. So long story short, I put him up against that bank, and it started getting super, super dark. And I couldn't find this log or this huge tree that I used to cross it, because this creek, when I came there in the summertime, was only up to my ankles, you know, so I didn't think anything of it, and now it's frozen. And I was like, you know what, I've been out here for so long trying to find this log to cross the creek, you know, I can't find it. I'm just going to cross this frozen water. It can't be that deep. And little do you know that we had a bunch of flooded water and stuff coming there before it started freezing, and it finally froze a month or so before. And about the middle of November, it was frozen apparently. Anyways, I stepped on that ice, and you could just hear that ice cracking. And as soon as I realized that I was getting ready to fall through it, I went up to my nipples in frozen water. And I at first, man, I was sitting in the middle of this timber in the middle of, you know, of the dark, just looking at the sky, saying, "This is it." And I started saying the prayer, man, like, just God help me, and no, I can't die in the middle of nowhere, not have my family know where I'm at. And I got the courage to finally, you know, get to the other side, man. And I honestly thought that there was a log or something on my legs, and I looked back, and there wasn't. My legs, bro, when they say I was frozen. I'm not even gonna lie. That little amount of time I was in that water, I was sitting there rubbing my legs as hard as I could, trying to warm them up, trying to get the blood back into my, into it. And I couldn't move, and I'm just looking at myself like, come on, man, just trying to like build myself up, give me the courage. And I just, you know, even after sitting there for a half an hour, and I was trying to get on my phone, call my dad, there was no service, and it's not looking good. And so I finally let out a last scream for help. And, you know, maybe some guy might have shot his deer and is in the timber too to hear me, and I didn't really expect anybody. And out of nowhere, by the grace of God, this farmer happened to be out on his land putting logs in his wood-burning stove to keep his house warm, and heard me screaming, and he came running or whatever and seen where I was, and but he hauled me into his house, man, gave me warm clothes on his back and something to eat and some coffee. And I went out the next day, man. So that's what I was getting at. Even after about dying with this deer and having just the craziest night of my life, I went out the next day to make sure I still got that deer so I can at least put it in the freezer.
Yeah. Oh, we literally, people, you're absolutely right. People don't realize there's plenty of times we put ourselves through the ringer just to be able to not only take the animal, but harvest it and benefit from the supplements that we put on our table with it. You know, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and you're absolutely right. I think it doesn't get seen very well from non-hunters or anti-hunters, you know?
Right.
And, you know, for me, so back in January, a friend of mine had gotten drawn out to go do an elk hunt. And the day, do what?
Where was the elk hunt at?
Oh, the elk hunt was actually here in Oklahoma.
Oh, nice. Okay, gotcha.
Over in the Wichita Mountains. And he got drawn out. We got out there. The day that he actually shot the elk, I can't remember exactly, but I believe it was 5 degrees with the wind chill and the real feel, all that. I think it said it was -9. The wind was, I believe it was 25 mile an hour with up to like 35 and 40 mile an hour gusts.
Oh yeah, just making it way colder.
Oh my goodness, it was horrible. Well, where he ended up shooting his elk, we had this huge trek to get back to the truck, and we had a timeline that we had to be out by. You know, we were only allowed to be in there 90 minutes after dark. Well, the proper way to haul out an elk is to take, you know, smaller portions at a time, you know, and just make a few trips, you know. Well, he had something come up that the next day he wasn't going to be able to go out there. So we were like, you know what? All right, we're going to pack this entire elk out in one trip. And oh my gosh,
that had been just god awful in that weather too, man.
It was brutal.
Right. And usually that terrible, brutal weather is the best time to hunt, unfortunately.
It is. It seems like the nastier weather, the better it is to hunt, the better it is to fish. I mean, like fishing wise, I've caught my personal best blue cat on rod and reel in 20-mile-an-hour winds in the middle of February with it raining and sleeting all day, and I was out there on the water and pulled up a 45-pound blue. You know, so
that's crazy.
It seems like the nastier it is, the better it is.
Right, and people always say too that the wind usually messes people up during fishing, but clearly that just got blown out of the water by you catching that monster.
Oh, now, and I'll tell you what, that wasn't the only fish we caught that day. I mean, between me and my buddies that were all out there, I mean, we hammered them. I mean, we were on them, and it's actually like down here for fishing. Like, well, let me rephrase this. For catfish fishing, I have gotten to where I enjoy the wind because it seems like I've wind-blown banks blowing the bait fish over there. It's perfect. Now, when I'm crappie fishing, I don't like the wind.
Right, yeah, no doubt.
But, it never fails, and that's usually how it goes on the days I don't want it to be real windy. It's usually real windy, and then vice versa,
It's always how it goes.
It is, but I mean, we hauled that elk out, talking about that elk and what we put our bodies through sometimes. We hauled that elk out, I believe it was right around the 3-mile mark.
Oh,
and
wow.
He shot that elk 1 hour before sunset.
And, of course, and then it's got to be dark on top of it all.
Exactly. But we got to that elk. Of course, we're recording everything, and so we're still having to set up and try to record and video and everything, And so we get to the elk. We get the elk skint, quartered out. We got as much meat as we possibly could, like all the way up to basically the jaw line, all that neck meat, of course the quarters, the loins, the hind quarters. The only meat
now, how
that
long
we
does
did
it
not
take to? No, go ahead.
Oh, we got all, like, literally everything except for like the bloodshot meat that was on the ribs.
Right. So you got the damn near the majority of it then.
Oh yeah. We literally. I mean, when I say we packed out an entire elk, I mean we literally we try not to waste anything because, like I said, that's
absolutely
for us. That's what we rely on, and and that was actually probably for us some record time because we knew we were in a time crunch getting that thing skinned out and quartered out. So like literally he started working on one side and I started working on the other, and we just met in the middle. Like, I kid you not, we had that entire elk quartered, skin out, meat in the meat bags, ready to pack out within 30 minutes.
That's what I was just getting ready to ask, and what that is insane because that's about as much time as it takes me to do a whitetail. So for you guys to be able to do that fast on a huge animal is. That says a lot right there.
Well,
now do you have to worry?
It wasn't easy.
No, not at all. I don't doubt that at all. But now down there in Oklahoma, do you guys got to worry about predators when it comes to when you shoot something at night there when you're packing it out?
The main thing that we got to really worry about is going to be like coyotes, I guess, predator wise.
Sure.
Really, when it comes to packing out after dark. I would honestly be more worried where we were at. There's a lot of bison, and so I would have been more worried about the bison rather than anything. I was chased up a tree some years ago by one, so it's like I know they can tend to be a little aggressive. So
they can. People underestimate those things. We when I was a kid, we took a trip out to Wyoming, to Yellowstone, and
beautiful.
It is a beautiful country, but man, you best respect the land is what I've learned the hard way out there. If you don't respect it, like that, it will get you. So we're trying to make a fort out there as kids and ended up getting lost, and we got lost for hours and hours, and we come upon this open field, and you could see all on this field, or on the trees by this field, the bear claw marks, and then the fur from them rubbing up on it. And as I was the oldest one in the group out of us. I think there was 5 of us, and I was 12. Being the oldest one, I knew exactly what it was, and it scared the hell out of us. And sooner, about 5 minutes after noticing what's going on, you just hear this like this growling and grunting behind this tree, and I was like, oh no. And I've never been so scared in my life. And I was telling the group, get behind me. I'm shaking, I'm trying to like peek behind this tree to see what it was, and here I am face to face. I would say about just over 12 or 15 feet away from me. There was 5 grown bison, and that one, that the biggest bull, was looking straight at me, man. And I thought he was going to start charging me, because he started doing that with his feet, just stomping
kicking
on
up
the
the
ground.
dust and
Yes. And I seen that. I'm like looking at the group. I'm like, oh man, he's coming for us. And at first they had no idea what I'm even looking at. They're thinking it's a bear. And so no, he ended up rolling around on the ground, like a dog does. And when we, long story short, we got found by the, we found this random cabin in the woods, and we found a mail on it. And so we let the sheriffs know where we were at, and they came and found us, and we told him about the buffalo incident. He was saying, like, you kids are lucky that happened. He rolled around on the ground like that. He said that's an intimidation thing. He said normally they'll charge you without even letting you know, or they'll roll around on the ground like that and kind of give you a warning, and thank God he did so.
I'm telling you, talk about a big animal. I used to work for a ranch down here, and we had a couple of them that, we pretty much raised like cattle,
Right.
A couple of them we could actually pet. Now, I would never suggest it because, just for the safety factor, that's a big animal. That's like even cows. You got to be careful because they're so heavy. They accidentally step on your foot. Well, your foot's done, But
and I think that's what people think, is that they're just like cows, and that they're just so graceful and kind. But man, they're definitely wild. Don't let that confuse them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think for us that was our biggest fear about packing out that night, out that elk. We actually made it back. Like I said, it was right around the 3-mile mark. We made it from the top of the mountain. Of course, we had to cross over a small little ravine and then come back over a couple of different sides of a couple of different mountains. But of course, we're trying to take the path of least resistance so that we're not just killing ourselves. It takes a little longer, but we ended up making it from the top of the mountain back to the truck, and I think we had like 15 minutes to spare before we were legally supposed to be out of there.
Oh wow, you have to be out of there at a certain time then too, huh?
Oh yeah. 90 minutes. We were allowed to be in there 90 minutes before legal shooting light, and we were allowed to be out of there 90 minutes after legal sunset.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, so it was like...
you really had
it was a time crunch.
Yeah, you're looking at the phone or watch and starting having to jog all the way back there.
Oh, yeah, and you got all this meat on your back, and like...
No way.
I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not in shape. I'm not necessarily fat, but I'm not in shape either,
Right.
And my buddy that I was with, he's same way. He's pretty heavy set guy. We're both not in shape, and there is a feeling of invincibility that says I just packed an entire elk off the top of that mountain in less than 90 minutes. That's gutted, that's skinned, that's cleaned, and that's to the truck with 15 minutes to spare at 3 miles.
Yeah, at that point you start hooping and hollering. That's a heck of an accomplishment.
Oh man, it really does. Me and him have talked 100 times. Hey, we need to go travel and do this and just pack it out.
Right. And it's so much, and it's just so much easier doing it that way. And I need to start doing that too. And I always tell myself and all my buddies when we're always dragging something big out, whether it be a deer or even a 25-pound turkey, hauling it out can be heavy sometimes, especially the terrain you're at. Like I guess I was in my bestest shape a few years ago, then started slacking, when turkey season, the deer season hit. I've just been slacking ever since. Then got into relationships, so I've just been getting that good old dad bod going on. But I always tell everybody, you never realize how truly out of shape you are. Even when you think you're in shape, you never know how out of shape you are until you go hunting and you're dragging something out.
You are not joking. I have a buddy of mine who he is very active in sports, ultimate frisbee, football, basketball, all of it. I mean, he's a very oh yeah, and that's just who he is. I mean, very athletic guy, very athletic built, strong as an ox.
Right.
Just he literally an athlete. I mean, he may not be a pro athlete, but he's an athlete.
Yeah,
and, exactly. And he asked me one time. He's like, John, I want to go shoot a deer. I said, all right, man, let's go. And I took him out to the woods. We got out there. He shot his deer. We're walking back to go get the pickup, and we run across some pigs. Well, me being the redneck that I am, I just run in the woods, and I'm chasing these pigs through the thorn briars. And I look back at one time, and I'm like, are you coming? He said, nope, I'm staying right out here.
I'm good.
And I was like, dude, you're the one that has the gun. I'm trying to push him over here. I need you to get ready to shoot these things so that you can shoot your first pig, man. So he's trying to keep up, and I mean, I'm running and dodging and ducking, and I'm grabbing piglets and everything else, and
he's looking at you like you're the TriStar athlete now.
Exactly. And he ended up telling me that later. He was like, he goes, yes, in sports, I've got you beat. Like I can outrun you, I can outplay you, and I'm fine with admitting that. Yeah, he absolutely can. But he said, in the woods, I cannot keep up with you.
It's that drive, man.
It's a total different ball game.
It really is. It really, especially when you know the outcome. When you can, you can just get get that tag filled and just bring that bird home or bring that deer home, and be able to put that on the plate. There's nothing more rewarding than being able to go to the woods and then put it on the plate. Like that's why I can't even tell my friends. That's another thing I ended up learning all on my own too, was bringing it home and then processing it myself, hanging it up and coring it, just chopping it up into either deer the grind or whatever for burger, or doing jerky or back straps. And yeah, my friends, even the experienced ones, are just like, man, you take it to a whole, you don't even take it to the locker, you do it all here and you're on your own. I'm like, it's to me, there's nothing more satisfying than being able to do that and then process it yourself, put it in the freezer. Like, you don't need the store, like you can do it all on your own. And that's what I've been told, like it's more different and more, I would say abnormal for us to go to the store and get it out of the store than it is, it's more tradition. It's been however long we've been hunting, thousands of years, versus being able to go to a store and buy it out of a refrigerator. That is not normal.
You're right. You are right. Well, and I think too, there's there's that feeling of, okay, I did this, right? There's that feeling of, I accomplished this. Now it's on my table. I went out, I put in my time, I put in my blood, my energy, my sweat, and my tears to harvest this animal, and now it's on my table. Don't get me wrong, that is an amazing feeling, and I'm sure you're the same way, because it seems like everybody that I talk to is this way. But it seems like to me, even the better part about that is when I get to say, hey friends, hey family, I'm having a cookout, y'all come over, and this is from what I harvested, whatever it is, from the date. Exactly. This is that animal, and I'm going to get a group of people together having a great time. So it's not just about the memories that I made out in the woods. It's not just about the supplements that I put on my table, but it's also about the fellowship that is, helping to, bring people together. That is so important. And that is just another one of those things that just makes this such a wonderful experience.
Exactly. That's bringing in, like you said, people who don't even hunt, and just bringing them over and just to have them try that, like some people who don't hunt and I have some family members, I can't even talk about hunting, period. I'd either have to go in the other room and whisper, and tell, because what it is my youngest nieces and nephews come up to me because I'm the hunter of the family, and they'll come up to me, and or I mean, not the only one, but the one who's really super into it, and they want to come up to me and hear my stories, you see my videos and pictures, and having to keep that on the low is it kind of it would suck. So like being able to then then finally being able to bring those nieces and nephews who were interested and have them like this year, my nephew wanted to go turkey hunting, and my stepmom did not want him to do it. Basically, the story was she didn't want him to, how would I say it, like lose his childness or whatever and become a
Sure.
she didn't want to lose
The
his
innocence of a
innocence.
child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was telling her, like, I'm not forcing this upon him. Like, he wants to do this on his own. And so finally this year we brought him out turkey hunting for his first hunt ever, and his first day turkey hunt. We brought him out to a nice little public spot that I got, and we're sitting there, just goofing off, having a good time, and at first you kind of, the rule is you kind of want to be quiet with your buddies and just, you kind of
Right.
a little bit more serious note when you're with your friends, but with him, we were just goofing around, he's eating chips and just making all this ruckus, and, I'm just kind of like, at first, I would normally look at my friends like, come on, dude, be quiet, what are you doing? But if you're gonna introduce new hunters, you just got to have fun with it. So we were having fun with it, and then little do you know, this Lone Tom comes walking in out of nowhere, and I look at my cousin or my little nephew. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, if there's one coming, are you ready?" And he's like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "No." You could just see in his face, like he didn't think like it was gonna happen the very first day, the very first set. And I'm telling him, like, "Oh, he's coming," and then he's getting the gun ready, and then he's finally makes eye contact. He's not, the bird doesn't see us, but the boy's making contact with the bird, and you just see him shaking. And just to see the first time hunters go through that, you know what I mean? That is, it's just like letting them eat, your game, and getting them used to sharing that moment with them and having them eat it. Just putting new people on, youth hunters, and there's nothing more rewarding than them getting their first bird. That's it. So although he was shaking so bad he missed, about a week or so before that, for the first day of youth season, I took my little cousin out, and I'd say within a half hour of them flying down from the roost, we had 2 jakes come in, and then a tom was behind him, and it was snowing pretty good. And I was telling my cousin, the little cousin, it was 3 jakes. 3 jakes were coming in, and I was telling him, like, "Hey, buddy, it's a little cold. If you want to shoot one of those jakes, that's legal. If you want to shoot that." He's like, "Yeah, I'll take one." And so at first I was like, "All right, we're gonna get this done first thing in the morning." But then that tom came out of. At first we thought he was gonna wander away and just let the jakes come in. So I was telling him, like, just go ahead and shoot the jake. The tom's not coming. And then the tom out of nowhere decided, so making him, stay patient. He ended up taking out a tom that day. So it was a first great hunt for him too. So yeah, there's nothing better than taking the first youth hunters out for their first time.
Oh man, and I tell you, and that's so important. And I know there's a lot of people out there that love it, right? But I do believe there for every one hunter, let me rephrase this, for every one outdoorsman that there is taking somebody out there, I believe that there's a bunch of outdoorsmen that's not taking a young person out there. They're in it totally for, the social, their outlook for social ranking, right?
Sure,
and
for social media, or they just
yeah,
have
look
that
at me,
ego.
look at me.
Sure, and you know what? I've had some, I'd say, ex-friends now who are in that same boat, man. Like, it's never good enough. Like, if you're trying to show how happy you are with what you shot, it's never good enough for them. It's never big enough. And those people you just need to get rid of. You don't need any of that we already have so much negativity in this world already. The last thing you need is some fake friends to be in your life and trying to put you down for something you work so hard for. So it's just not even worth it.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not worth it. And it comes back down to that's a part of the reason why it's so important for people like you and myself and all these other people that are wanting this industry to grow with, especially with the young people. It's so important to get them out there. I absolutely love hearing about getting young people involved in the outdoor industry. I actually took my little nephew out. I say little. The kid, he's not even 15, and I believe he's 6'2" or 6'3".
Wow.
Yeah, he's oh my goodness, he's super tall. So I call him
Blows
my
your
little
mind
nephew.
how big these kids are these days.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And he called me. He's called me several times. John, I'm thinking about it. And of course, I'm not going to tell him, okay, well, let's go shoot an animal. Like if you're just thinking about it, are you sure you want to do it? Have you talked to your dad? Have you talked to your friends? I don't want to pressure any of these kids into anything. But then one day he called me and said, John, I want to do it, but I'm really nervous. And I said, that's fine.
Right.
So I took him out. Him and I went out to the gun range, and we practiced and practiced and practiced with that rifle. I had him set up with a little All-American Ruger 243.
There you go.
And he was we shot up to 150 yards, and that dude was pinging bullseyes all day long. The only kind of quote-unquote gun that he had ever shot was a BB gun.
Right.
But so he understood
was he hitting the
concept.
target, though?
The first couple times was a little hit and miss, but then he went to pinging it dang near dead center. I mean, it was a perfect kill shot. Once he got it honed in, it was a kill shot every time.
That kind of builds the confidence just right there. It's
absolutely.
just having them shoot and then see, hey, you can hit this target. You can do it. Now we just need to put it into play.
Yep, exactly. And I know there's a lot of controversy within like high fence hunting and all that. With him being so nervous, I wanted to set him up in a controlled environment for as much success as possible. And so I called a friend of mine out of Bangs, Texas, and I said, hey man, I need to get my little nephew hooked up on his very first harvest. I want to hopefully use this as an experience for him to want to dive into this. He said, man, y'all get down here. We'll talk about the rest of it later. Fine. So we get down there.
No questions asked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No questions asked. Okay. We get down there, and Austin, he was so nervous. That's my little nephew. He was so nervous. He would get ready. We went out there. We were putting a spot and stock on some rams, and he found the one that he wanted. When he saw it, his eyes got so big. We were all just like, yeah, that's the one. Like there's like we all just kind of looked at each other real quietly and like, yeah. We spot and stocked that ram for a long time, and there was a few chances he'd pull up, he'd get on, you'd see him let out his breath, and then he would hold, and then he'd get ready to squeeze the trigger, and then he would just let down. Right. And you could tell it was just beating him up. Yeah. And so, we're hunting on now, yes, it's a high fence ranch, but it was a huge high fence ranch, I believe. I say huge. I believe it was 3,000 acres.
That's pretty good shot. That's pretty big.
I mean, that's a big hunk of land, Yeah,
it is.
It's massive. And so it's like, you know what? It's okay. You know what? Just breathe. Let's take a break. We'll kick back. They're going to go do their thing. We'll kick back.
There you
go. He got calm, cool, collected. We got back on the hunt. And when that last spot where we was at, where he actually pulled the trigger, when he pulled the trigger, the ram dropped.
Just right there in his tracks.
Right there in his tracks. Did not even sort of run. I mean, it was the perfect shot. And when he realized what had happened, like it was almost like he was in a daze, right?
It just blows
the emotions. Oh yeah, the emotions.
Oh, like that's great.
I was in tears, and even now going back and watching it, I start crying because I'm like, that is what it's about. He started jumping, hooping, and hollering, and just kind of like a frantic sound that he was making, and he came up to me and just wrapped his arms around me, just hugging me and just shaking.
That's so special. You'll never forget that. That makes me, that gives me goosebumps.
Oh yeah, and I'm not trying to uplift me by no means, but
No.
the fact that now he is pretty dead set now on getting his own bow, getting his own tree stand. He's wanting to figure out how to start deer hunting because they've got a little patch of property right there beside where they live, and I'm like, Austin, there's deer out there. He was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And now he's getting so dead set on it. But it's so important for that to happen for the growth of this industry.
Yes, and that's glad. Thank goodness, and that's what he got it done, and then it just builds on from there, and that's what we ended up kind of learning that the hard way. Last year, we took my same little cousin who got his first turkey this spring, who I was just telling you about. We went out during youth deer season last year, and he's never at this point hasn't taken, he has never shot anything and hasn't had a successful hunt. Every time he's been out with his father, they would see stuff but never get within shooting range. So I finally told him, all right, well, I'll take you to a good old spot. We'll get something, within shooting range. And we had this doe come. At first she was 65 yards and was getting in, real close, 50 yards, 45. And at first, I was like, is that too far of a poke for the boy? But his dad, I've seen his Snapchats, whatever, the boy was hitting, up to 50 yards pretty good. So I had total faith in him. I should have probably let the deer come in a little bit closer, but every time we would tell him, okay, buddy, she's broadside. Just go ahead and give that, just a light squeeze, and then just let it, just let it surprise you. And and then we would wait, and then, okay, what are you waiting for? And then he he kind of choked up, and I think that's what it was. We probably should have. It's just something big like that. It might be just a little too hard for them kids, just because it's not like what I've been told is to start them off with birds, get them started off with birds and kind of work your way up, and that's probably what
something where there's a less of an emotional attachment.
Yes, that's what I've been told, and we kind of went full force with it and went deer hunting, and I think that might have been the mistake. But now that he's got that turkey done this year, he's so excited to go deer hunting this year. So yeah, this year is going to be the year for him. We're going to get him his first buck.
That is awesome. That is what it's about. I love, man, that's just getting kids out in the woods. And to me, there's different levels of success. And don't get me wrong, harvesting an animal, sure, you can call it success, however you want to say it or whatever, but that's not the success in my eyes. My eyes, especially when it comes to getting young people involved, the success is getting them out there, whether they shoot an animal or not, and then they turn around and say, I want to go again.
Absolutely.
That is success.
Absolutely. So I took out my little cousin and then my little nephew, and then I have another little cousin with so it's my cousin who's about my age. He's got a younger boy who's about 7 years old, and neither of them have ever been hunting, and they've been seeing all my videos and all my pictures, and they know all my stories, and they've been wanting to get out. And I said, if you guys want take the time and do it, we can do it. So I took them out, and the first time we went out, I was planning on sitting in this blind that I had access to this private property, and the only other people that had access to that were these Amish boys, and they left this nice blind up on this hill in the very, very back of this property where me and my brother sat in it one day and ended up double down for turkey. I've seen deer walk by it multiple times. So I was telling them, I'm like, if you guys want to come with me, this is last year. You guys want to come, because they didn't, they just wanted to come and watch, just to see what it was like, and because the boy had no idea what to expect. And we walked all the way back there, and this place it takes about a mile to get back there. Even though it's an easy walk, it's a walk. And so we walked all the way back there, and of course the blind wasn't there. The Amish guys must have took it and put it somewhere different. And I was like, we're just gonna have to sit out here, and it was super cold. And so I look back and I can see it, and they toughened it out though, and I look back and they're both shivering, and I knew if I was cold, the little boy had to be cold. And I was telling him, like, hey bud, we'll walk back to the truck. If we see something, we see something. And we didn't get anything on the way to the truck, but coincidentally, as we were driving out, we seen on the cornfield to the owner's property, there was a doe right off on the in the ditch. So I got out of the truck or whatever, just outside, just right on the ditch side, and right as soon as I stepped on the, just inside the ditch, just to be able to get a good shot at her, she kind of got spooked, but I ended up taking it, and the boy's face when he first seen that deer, you could even my cousin said it was a game changer, man. He's like, they went out with one of their friends the week before and had no luck, and to finally see it, the boy's just been saying it was the funnest time of his life, and he's been wanting to go ever since. And then we brought him out for turkey season, and it was just like you said, man. We didn't see nothing, but even though we didn't see nothing, my cousin called me up that night and he's like, hey man, even though we didn't see anything, all we just was just hearing the birds, enjoying the sunset and all that. He said the boy had a blast and was saying it was one of the funnest times of his life, and he just getting outdoors, even at that age, he's seeing just being outside, enjoying the outdoors is truly what life is about.
Yeah, it is. And I'm sure you've seen it. There's a clip floating around on the internet. It's an older clip, and I want to say I saw it. I think I saw it on Drury Outdoors. One of their posts, I believe, is where I saw it. Don't quote me on this, but it's a little clip of a young kid that had just shot his very first deer, and he is shaking. And you would think he was cold if you were just looking at him, because he is just shaking violently, and you hear
oh yes.
Yeah, you hear him ask, are you cold? No, I don't know why I'm shaking. I'm just so excited. And, watching that's raw, that's real, and that's how it should be.
That's exactly how it should be.
Exactly. I watched my wife 2 years ago shoot her personal best buck with a muzzleloader. Now, granted, this sounds crazy. It was her personal best buck. It was only a 6-point, but this thing as a 6-point, he's absolutely huge. You can actually go back and you can go back and see it on our Facebook page, Outdoor Genetics Facebook page. You'll see the picture of it. It's just her with a 6-point, but this 6-point, I mean, like I said, this is you see, he's a stud 6-point. And she shot, she looked both ways like, am I dreaming? And she looked back at me and instantly started crying. And there's a lot of mixed emotions, there's a lot of mixed emotions that go on with hunting and harvesting an animal, but it's so important to experience that, and it's so important to allow the kids, if they want to. Now, I don't believe forcing them to go out there and do it is right, but if the kids are wanting to be a part of that, I think it's important to show them those things. Like, look, even adults do this, and sometimes they cry. I'm not going to lie. Almost every time I cry, because I have put in the time, the money, the energy, the blood, the sweat, and the tears in scouting all year round, going out, busting my hump, trying to figure out what these animals are doing, why they're doing it, when they're doing it, trying to learn. And when I do shoot one, there is, like, a lot of times there's tears falling down my face, and it's not just because I'm sad, it's just raw.
It is.
And it's so
truly
important.
Tears of joy. And that's how I was last year. So I've only shot 2 bucks like I've said, I've just started hunting, and I've only shot 2 bucks with a bow. And so the first one was obviously, a decent first timer bow buck or whatever. But then the one I got last year was my first, stud buck. And the reason that one was so emotional was because my uncle, before he passed away last year, was a super avid hunter, and he shot. I got a monster buck I'm looking at around the wall. That's his right now, and I can't even tell you how many good sized deer he shot. And he was telling me about, hey, if you want to shoot good sized bucks or whatever, if you want to put in the time, go to this public spot. This is where they're at. And I was like, okay. And trying to pull up the Onyx on a phone for an old guy, and it was kind of hard to like. All right, was it right here, Unc? Or is it over here? And him kind of being all shaky, trying to point it out. Like, so I was getting the general area. You know what I mean? I didn't have the exact. I might have been in the exact location, but I was close to where he shot all his bucks. And
right.
So when I got there last year, my goal was, I have a couple good public spots, but over the years I've gotten permission, just by going door knocking onto, knock on wood, I have pretty good luck knocking on people's doors and giving the good old smile and asking for permission. Yep. And, getting access. So I'd say all in all, total, I have about 3,000, private acre or private land of my own where I can hunt. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I forgot the moral of the story here.
That's all right. But talking about like your uncle, you're being in the area where he was, where he shot his buck.
Yeah, so like I had all the. There we go. Sorry,
No, you're good.
I had all this private acres or whatever, and then I was telling myself, it'd be really, really cool to be able to go to that public spot and be able to like get this deer in memory of him, But I had all this private spots, and I was getting awesome bucks, of all these, different spots of different bucks. I'm like, man, I really don't know what to do. And finally decided to pull the plug and went early in the morning on November 7th was the day. Right as soon as like the rut was, kicking in really, really good. And I even did a hang-on stand that day. I brought a stand with me that morning, hung it up that in the morning around 7 o'clock, so I was kind of getting little bit later than I wanted to, and I was making all this ruckus, and I kept telling myself, I'm like, man, dude, you're being too loud. There's no way you're going to be able to pull this off. And I had a picture of my uncle, and I said a special prayer to him. I'm squeezing his picture. I'm like, Unc, I was already upset with losing him this year, because it was nothing better than being able to talk hunting with somebody who's just as into it as you are. And
oh, definitely.
And I missed him so much. And I'm sitting here saying a prayer like, hey, if you could come down and give me a little luck, like I could really use it. Because at first, that whole month of October, I wasn't seeing what I wanted, and I was kind of getting discouraged. And as soon as I said that prayer, and as soon as I put that picture down, over to my right, I look, and I'm looking, and I can see a couple of does, and then out of nowhere, the buck that I shot comes walking right, and he's following the same path that me and my buddy took to get up to this tree stand. I'm like, he's gonna bust us. There's no way there's no way he's gonna get on the same path as us and not bust us. And you can.
Oh, can you hear me?
Are you there?
Oh, there you go. I lost you there for a second.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I had heard where you said the buck was coming in on the same path that you and your buddy took.
Yeah, and I didn't think that we were going to be able to pull it off, because I figured, it's a bigger buck, he knows what he's doing. And he put that nose down to the ground where our tracks were at and kind of looked around and didn't see where we were at and kind of took a few more steps. And I was telling myself, like, he already was kind of, like I said, he was looking, he knew something was up. And I was telling myself, like, Orlando, you better take this shot, and all I had was probably just over a softball size hole through all this brush that was in the perfect center of right where that heart shot was at. And I was like, if you're going to take it. And he put that nose down, looked right up at me, and I knew with that, the way he made eye contact with me, I needed to take it now, and took that shot, and I hit him, I drilled him. I seen him run off with the arrow, and my buddy didn't even see who I was with. He's like, what'd you shoot? And I was like, what? You didn't see him coming in? He's like, what was it a good one? I'm like, oh, Nate. I'm like, you're kidding me, bud. I'm like, how did you miss this? And so at first I was even telling myself in my head, like, did you get him good? Because like I had a terrible encounter at a public buck opening day the year before, where I shot at one, had one at a perfect distance, perfectly broadside, and I use a crossbow because unfortunately I have a neurological disorder where I can't pull back on a bow without. So basically, my neurological disorder, if I get too excited, my muscles paralyze themselves, and I end up becoming like a fainting goat. So Yeah, so that's why I get to use this crossbow. So long story short, I took this shot at this deer and it hit this twig, and just that little bit of that twig messed that shot up completely, and it hit him in his neck, and it was awful. I didn't know, and at first I thought I had a good shot placement on it. It followed the blood for over 4 hours, man. It was just little bits and pieces of blood, but I wasn't going to give up on this deer. Anyways, long story short, I followed it to a piece of private land, and I asked permission from this guy, and he helped me try looking for this deer, and the last piece of blood was in front of his trail camera. He's like, if I see anything, I'll let you know. And I gave him my number. We couldn't find it that day, and he messaged me. He's like, yep, I'm pretty sure this is your buck, and sent me a picture, and you could see it broad as daylight had this bolt in its neck, man. It was terrible. So yeah, so that's what I was getting at. So when I shot that one at my uncle's public spot or whatever, that immediately ran through my head. I'm like, did I get him in a good spot? Shoot, did he get away? Like, I just started thinking hardcore, and I was telling my buddy, I'm like, let's just wait. Like, it's like 7:15 in the morning. Let me at least wait an hour and a half, and we'll see what happens. And what happens? A bigger one comes walking down that same path that he was, and I'm like, looking at my buddy. He's looking at me like, are you gonna shoot it? I'm like, I can't, man. Like, I know, like, I'm pretty sure my buck's dead, but I can't, and I only have one tag. I'm not going to take this. And my buddy he's not as an experienced as, I guess I shouldn't say as me, but he's not experienced at all. And he's never really shot over 20 yards at a target, you know what I mean, accurately. Right. And I was telling him, like, and I'm getting the rangefinder out, and I'm telling him, like, bro, he's 30, and this is a beautiful buck, way bigger than the one I shot, man. This was a beautiful buck. He's like, I've never shot over 20 yards, bro. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So luckily, he didn't take that shot and mess anything up, so that one ended up getting away. But we climbed down from that tree after that one boogied off, and about 30 or 40 yards, I just see my buddy put his hands up with a fist pump, and I'm like, no way. And then as soon as I seen the buck, man, the emotion started just running through, like the tears and everything. Like, I could feel my uncle, like, I kid you not, man. Like, the sun started coming through the trees, and I could feel the warmth. And my uncle was telling me, like, I was here with you this whole time, bud. Congratulations. And, like, it was so cool, bro. I'll never forget that day.
Man, that is such a feeling. There's nothing else that can replace that feeling. I know exactly what you mean. I actually lost my mother going on 10 months ago. And, I mean, unfortunately, that's a part of life that sucks, but it is a part of life. But,
sure.
There's a part, there's still a lot of sadness, but I also take pride in, that woman was my mother. She put up with me for, 17, 18 years,
Right. Right. That's
that is
right
Superwoman. There. Exactly. And she was not an outdoorsman by no means. She didn't hunt. 1 year before she passed away, a little less than a year before she passed away, I was actually able to take her fishing for her very first time to do any real fishing over 30
awesome.
Years. Yeah, and she ended up landing about a 55 pound spoonbill.
Not kidding.
Not even kidding. I mean, when we pulled that thing over the boat, her eyes got as big as softballs. Like, oh my goodness. And, it's just one of those things. All of my adventures, though, anytime I would shoot something, whether I shot something or not, it didn't really matter. Me and my mom were very, very close, best friends. Right, and I would call her and tell her, and she would just be laughing at me. Or if I was crying, she'd be crying with me. She went through these emotions with me over all of my hunting and fishing endeavors. And I tell you, that is one thing that I have definitely felt when it comes to the hunting and fishing side ever since Mom has passed. It's always like, even though she's not here, it's like I still know that she knows what I just went through. And it's almost
absolutely.
like I can feel the excitement from her. It's almost as if I can literally hear her talking about it with me.
Right. Even though they're not here, they're still here. Spiritually, they will always be right. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
It might sound lame to you, but or not lame, but I mean, it's just I it was a few years ago. No, yeah, about 3 years ago. I had to put down my own personal first dog, and it absolutely just broke my heart. She was my baby girl, and I was telling myself that morning. I put her down the day before, and that morning I woke up and was just super depressed, telling myself I don't even want to hunt the rest of the year. I'm done. Like, I can't believe this happened. You know, it was truly awful. You know, even though it's just a dog, but it was like my daughter. And
yeah, definitely.
so I just out of nowhere, you know, like I was telling, you know, I just got this feeling like she wouldn't want you moping around, you know, just go out and do a hunt for her, do a dedication hunt for her. And so I brought her collar out, and not even expecting to really see anything. I knew I needed to get myself out just to clear my mind and try to like help myself out, you know. And so I climbed that deer stand up, and it was kind of a gloomy night, in all honesty, man. It was just a dull deer hunt evening, and there wasn't a bird in sight, not a raccoon, just there was nothing going on. And I'm not gonna lie, I put my head down and just started crying. I was just so upset, and I was just telling my dog, you know, like, I'm so sorry that I had to, you know, do this, but I was doing it for you, and you know, if just give Daddy some luck and let me know that you made it to heaven, you know. And I had her collar with me, and I just gave it that squeeze and gave it a kiss, and I kid you not, like, it happened this year again. I always bring her collar, and so I gave her that kiss that evening, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I look, you know, about 70 yards on the neighbor's property, I see a deer, and like it's the shooting time is it's about to be it's about to be over. And I'm like, oh man, I can't tell if it's a buck or not, and I didn't want to get the binos out because I didn't want to move, you know, because in my backpack I was starting to pack stuff up and end it for the night, and I seen it shake its head, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is a buck. I'm like, oh, please come this way. And sure enough, he jumps over the neighbor's fence onto our property. I'm like, perfect. And then, oh, right behind him, here comes the bigger one. I was like, oh, thank you. I was telling him, like, oh, Bella, you're listening. Thank you, girl. And I put it was that same shotgun I used on that other story. As soon as I pulled that smoothbore one, I shot that first bullet and completely missed, and then second one drilled it in. That tears of emotion got in with me again, and like it was like as soon as I said that prayer to her, just let me know you made it there, and she answered. You know, like I really do have I'm a firm believer in God. You know, so like to be able to like have that shared in the moment, with you in the hunting, it was just really cool. It was really special.
Oh, it is. I'm telling you, I believe that I'm with you on that. Growing up in a very Christian-based family, actually, my father is a minister. He's actually in the Philippines now. He's actually getting ready to leave the Philippines. He's been over there for quite some time, but he's been doing mission work over there.
Good for him. Good for him.
Absolutely. And, growing up in this lifestyle, I believe that anytime you have a devoted love towards someone or something, or like a pet, me and my wife, we've been married for working on 11 years, and we don't have kids. I can't make kids, so not by choice. It's just kind of one of those things. Yeah, we've considered adoption and things like that, but
sure,
praying about it and everything else, we've decided that it's really in not just our best interest, but the interest of my nieces and nephews, or even the kids that call me Uncle John, that they're not blood, but I consider them my nieces and nephews. This allows me to step up as a role model for my wife and myself, for us to be able to step up as a role model and to share it. So, no, I totally get it. Since we don't have kids, we have dogs. And, our dogs, I mean, we talk to them. I mean, yes, I know everybody talks to their dog like it's a human and they don't understand. But I'm telling you, I have literally put my dog's nose in the corner because they got in a little little bickering match, and I cannot stand it. And I literally I was pretty livid at the moment. And I told him, I said, you're going to put your nose in that corner, you're going to put your nose in that corner, and you ain't going to move until I tell you otherwise.
Time
And I
out for the
actually
pups.
That's right. And I actually had friends at my house at that time, and they heard me out there, getting onto my dogs. And I walked back in, and they were just kind of giggling, And I told them, I was like, those dogs will not move until I go back out there. Oh,
That is
whatever,
some-
they'll mosey on.
That's a
Nope.
great disciplined dog right there.
Oh, those dogs. Now, I'm not going to say like I'm a great owner or trainer or nothing like that, but those two dogs specifically, they made me look good. You know what I
Right.
mean?
What kind of dogs are they?
She was a bulldog, and he was a pit boxer mix.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And it was about 45 minutes later. It just kind of dawned on me, oh, I need to go let them, go let them out, let them go do their thing. And they all just kind of looked at me like, they're not still in there. And I said, if you don't believe me, you go tell them that they can leave. They walked out there. When he opened up that front door and he walked in, like, we had like a little side room area that they were in, but that we always left that door open so that they could come and go to get out of the rain and stuff like that. It was like their own personal, really nice doghouse, basically. And
Right.
he stepped out on the front porch, and he just peeked in their room, and he looked back at me and said, those dogs still have their noses in the corner. And about that time, a couple of my other buddies, they ran out there like, oh,
Like,
my
look at
gosh,
that.
how did you do? So you spend a lot of time and effort, and you pour out a lot of love into these animals. I'm a firm believer in when you invest in your time into something that you love like that, there is a spiritual bond. And so I totally get what where you're saying that, talking about though, pouring in, that blood, the money, the energy, the sweat and the tears and the love and the passion. And, we feel a lot of emotions when it comes to the outdoor industry. But I tell you one thing that is a sobering feeling is when you are straight up humiliated and then humbled by an animal that you did not get to harvest because they outsmarted you, and you just knew you had the opportunity to take it. That feeling right there, oh, that is a sobering feeling right there.
Oh yeah. When you, it's with turkey hunting or deer hunt, it's even any kind of hunt. It's almost like a game of chess, and it's
Yes.
and to get out and especially with a mature buck, and you think all this time and planning and I got him on a trail camera here at this time. I know I'm gonna outsmart him today or this and this, and you get up in that stand and that little wind shift or something, any little thing can just completely, you know what I mean? And then boom, that buck
Be the game changer.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, but then even though it may, I've been getting better at this now over the years, but at first when I would get beaten and get, the animal would beat me and walk away, I'd get real mad at myself, like, what did I do wrong? Should I have taken that shot? Should I, just really down on myself. And then over the years, as I'm kind of getting older and more into the outdoors and being more as an outdoorsman, it's chess, like you just gotta smile, let it go, and like there will be another opportunity, maybe that wasn't the one for me, maybe the bigger one's right around the corner, but they're trying to stay alive just as much as you're trying to hunt them, like they're
That's right.
and to be able to like it's almost like you're really doing war, like you're trying to outsmart something in its own backyard, and it's a lot tougher than it looks. You're literally, it's what I try telling everybody, like, oh sure, like for example, like my very first buck on the wall, like everybody sees, it's a small 8-pointer, the one my very first one. You see those bucks in the field all the time. But then I point to the one on the wall that my uncle shot, this giant, let's see what it is. Yeah, this giant 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 14 points all in all, with kickers everywhere. Like, you don't see those guys in the field because they're a whole nother animal. And I tell them, like, and to trick that animal, like, you're literally, it'd be like going into your bedroom in your house and thinking that I can, you and me outsmarting you, you know, and trying to get into your bedroom without you knowing.
Right.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've said that for years. You know, and you hit the nail on the head. That is their playground. That is their home. That is their life out there in the woods. And if you walk into your house right now and you look and everything's fine and hunky dory, you go outside and let's say you go to the store. You come back from the store and now there's a new recliner sitting in your living room.
Right. Or something's bumped off the table, you know, or you know something.
Yes. You're going to notice it, and it's the same thing out there. The deer may not necessarily like when I'm going to take me for instance. When I'm up in a tree, you know, I like to sit in trees that are big enough to silhouette me. They're bigger than me, so that I'm not, you know, shining. I guess, you know, being easily seen target, and.
It's kind of like with the trail camera too. You always kind of want to find a bigger one than your trail camera.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And setting up there, you know, when that deer steps out, I've had several times they look up at me. Now they might not realize that I'm a human. They may not realize that I'm dangerous, but they're looking at me because they know something is different.
Right. I wonder if they've just walked by that stand then every now and then too, and then notice, that wasn't there before. You know, you just really wonder what the heck they think.
Exactly. And you know, it's just I've used that as an example for years. You know, you're in their backyard, they know what they're doing. Like you said, they are trying to stay alive just as much as we are trying to hunt them. And you know, I love the chase. You know, the whole. For me, I'm more of a turkey hunter than I'm a deer hunter, but...
Oh, I love turkey hunting, too.
I deer hunt for the meat because that's what we eat throughout the year, but man, turkey hunting, whew, that is my passion.
And that's, see, I come in this debate with my friends every year, which one do you like better, deer hunting or turkey hunting? When deer hunting's there, I always say I love deer hunting. It's fun hunting the rut, and it's fun seeing those big boys, but there's something about the springtime with turkey hunting when everything's coming alive, and when you're, even if I don't even get one, just being able to hear them gobble, you know, it's just,
yes.
I think that's what it really is for me. I mean, I've personally never hunted elk, so what I've heard is elk's kind of like, you know, like the turkey deer hunting, you know, like it's the turkey of deer hunting or whatever you want to call it. So if I had deer communicate the way that turkeys do, I probably would like deer hunting. But yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I love turkey hunting. There's nothing better than to be able to put those decoys out, do some calling, and just trick the. And I have just now recently started getting into the bow hunting turkey, and it's.
Yes.
Man, was that a mistake? It's just I love the challenge, man. But having that softball sized vital compared to a basketball sized vital on a deer,
yes,
it really messes with you. When we went out to, it was my first time out of state hunting for one, and out of state bow hunting turkeys for two, and we got access to a beautiful piece of property, and I have never heard or seen so many turkeys in my life, and oh man, it was just insane, man. Like, what was I getting at there? Dang it, I'm always losing track of what I'm talking about. Just
you're
getting so
good.
sidetracked, man. Yeah.
Talking about the excitement from like bow hunting and turkeys.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's what.
You're good.
Yeah, bro, we get all the way down into this spot, and there's just turkeys galore, and boom, I'd hit one perfect shot placement, and then we couldn't find it. And then all in all, man, I ended up losing 5 different turkeys and just in Nebraska alone last year. It was terrible, and I would tell myself after every single one, like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not doing it again. It's not I love bow hunting turkeys, dude, but in all honesty, even with the right shot placement, I don't know if it's that crossbow just hitting them way too hard or whatever it is. I'm just making up an excuse. I just feel like, I just like to be ethical, so I just prefer to use a shotgun.
Sure,
and then there's nothing better. I prefer, even though it's fun getting those, turkeys 5 yards to 10 yards when you're bow hunting right in front of your blind. But I kind of use the bow hunting method into shotgun hunting and make it a little bit more challenging and interesting too. So I'll get I like putting the even though I'm shotgun hunting, you have that 30, 40 yard poke. I'll put those decoys 10, 15 yards in front of me and get them, and I will wait until they start beating them up and putting on that show for me, and making that much more interesting.
Oh man, I tell you what, and talking about the idea of bow hunting, if you want to pursue the bow hunting for turkey, I actually just the other day did a podcast with Trenton from Chest Thumper Outdoors. He's big time archery. That is what he does. He does broadhead reviews. He is all about archery hunting. And for the listeners out there too,
you had him on your podcast the other week, then, right?
Yeah, just this past week. Yeah.
Right. Yep, I did hear that. Yep.
Yeah. For our listeners, if y'all don't know who that is, y'all need to go to his TikTok, go to his YouTube, check him out. Chest Thumper Outdoors. This guy, before we started recording and even after we started recording, we chit-chatted and talked, and I'm going to tell you what, this guy knows his stuff when it comes to archery. Right. And oh my goodness, this dude,
he seemed really knowledgeable, like with different broadheads that he would check out, and the different
he is a plethora. He is a plethora of information.
I like that word. It's a perfect word for him. Yes, he is.
But he had made a recommendation for a turkey head, a turkey broadhead. He said he personally believes that it is one of the best broadheads for turkey hunting, and that's the slang blade. It's got it's got a 4-inch cut diameter. It's SLANG BLADE, slang blade. Okay. And actually, if y'all want to check it out, if you want to check it out for the listeners, go to his TikTok. I believe, before I open up my mouth and am wrong, at this moment in time, yep, there it is. Right now, if you was to go to his TikTok, Chest Thumper Outdoors, it's actually the second video that he has on his page. It's pinned to the very top, and it's the second one. But yeah, it's a 4-inch cut diameter, and I'm gonna buy some for turkey hunting because I am wanting to try it. But a 4-inch cut diameter, that thing is massive,
Oh yeah,
and that was exactly nasty. What he said. He said, if you're looking at possibly the best turkey broadhead out there, this is gonna be it, And so you might consider that if you do decide to pursue the archery side of turkey hunting.
And when this year when first season was all done or whatever, and I ended up just deciding to go with the good old boomstick, I was telling myself, I'm giving up on turkey hunting with a bow. It's just not, I'd rather just do it with a boomstick. I every time I tell myself I'm going to give up on it, I just never can, man. I just love bow hunting, and it's the challenge of it. And then one of these guys here in Iowa, he's got his own radio show and everything too. He seen me struggling and seen I kept posting on Facebook how I wasn't having any luck, and I'd be hitting these turkeys and putting them in the right placement. It's just I don't know if it was the broadhead that's what he said. He said, "What are you using?" And I'm not talking down on this brand or anything. I was telling him it was just the Rage broadheads, and he just said, I've heard so many people say different review, not the best reviews with that when it comes to turkey hunting, just because, one story or another, whether it doesn't open up because of the feathers or what. So he was highly recommending me use I don't know if you've heard of Slick Tricks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he told me to mount that puppy up on there, and when I was using was I was using the Rage ones, and so I got the Slick Trick mechanical ones, and the first time I used it, I ended up taking my first archery turkey, and so yeah, that was my go-to, was using that. But then now that you were saying that with that new broadhead and that 4-inch cut, that sounds more up my alley, and that's what my other buddy he does. My buddy Hunter, he personally. He decapped his first turkey last year, and he was saying just the adrenaline that gave you, man, to get it that close and to cut its head off was as brutal as it may sound, it's just like just like he was shaking too, and damn near, and I think he was even saying he was in tears too. It was just that, but he made a real good point with it. He was saying whether, you know, it may sound tough being able to shoot such a small target, the head, but he was saying whether if you hit it and you kill it and it drops right there, game over. But if you miss, it's a clean miss, and that bird has no idea what the heck happened. Absolutely. So I'd rather, you know what, I think I might just start, you know, if I'm going to do it, just start going for the head, because I'd rather have a dead bird instantly than a wounded one, and just being educated and not, you know, being able to, so I'd rather have a clean miss than a wounded bird.
Absolutely. Well, and you know, it's, you know, like you said, it is a very small target, and that's not to be misunderstood. I mean, I can go out and I can put, you know, anywhere from, you know, I typically practice from 10 yards with my bow, and I practice all the way out to 45 yards. That's for turkey. I can shoot further, for turkey.
Wow, good for you.
And I am comfortable pulling that 45-yard shot. I don't like doing it, but there for a long time, literally, I could literally go out with a Coke can. This was back before I started buying decent targets, but I could literally go out with a Coke can, and I could step back and using my 45-yard pin, and I could every shot. I mean, I might have okay. I'm not gonna say every shot, but 9 out of 10 shots. 9 out of 10 shots, I could put it in that Coke can at 45 yards.
Nice.
You know, and I'm like, if I can do that, I can kill a turkey with it. But you know, that Coke can's not moving. You know, granted, you know, if a bird's in strut and he's just kind of gliding around the decoys, he's not moving very fast, but he's still moving. You know, there's a lot of other elements that can come into play. So that is a small target. But like you said, the idea of it being possibly, it's either a kill shot or it's a complete miss. And I think as an outdoorsman, it's important to say I would rather a good clean miss than to have to either shoot an animal twice, or possibly just injure it and it run off and I never find it.
Right. And see, people always see, because like I use that crossbow, and they're always saying like, what do you mean? Like, because I would even say, like, they'd see me posting a video or something of a strutter, and I'm like, oh, he's just outside 50 yards or 50 yards or more. I can't take the shot. And of course, you got those haters. What do you mean? You're using a crossbow. You should be able to drill it up to 100 yards. I'm like, I know, like, those crossbows can do that, dude. But like, even you know, being an experienced bow hunter, just I personally, dude, even with a crossbow, I don't like what you said, man. I don't like going anything past 40 just because of the animal's sake, and you know what I mean. Like, so much can happen in that arrow's flight, you know, just that little bit of wind, or that could just totally mess it up in that far of a path.
Yes, it can. It really can. Yeah. And it doesn't get seen as much. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, bows today perform way better than what they did, you know, years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
I get that. You know, my bow is shooting wicked fast, you know, and I spent a lot of money on this bow so that I could get a bow that would shoot wicked fast. But in the same breath, it might be shooting fast, but you're sending a long projectile through the air that's easily affected by wind.
Oh, and,
you know, God forbid you have a few patches of, you know, of tall grass, of weeds that you have to shoot through, or, you know, any little thing can knock off an arrow to make it go one way or the other. There's so much that goes into that. I could babble on about all the mistakes that I have personally made.
Well, then like, let's say, you know, you have to, you know, you got that giant, you know, 180 in front of you, and then he's 75, 60 yards away, you know, like, sure, you may have that perfect shot placement, and then there may not be, you know, any wind or nothing, but that animal within that 60 yards, or as soon as that arrow is flying, he could take that one step forward or 2 steps forward, and that just could completely, you know, that placement could be completely way off in that amount of, so I personally don't shoot over 40 yards, even with a crossbow. I just for the animal's sake, man. I hate having to do it twice, you know, so it's just, if I could just do it with one shot, one kill, That's how I'd prefer to end it.
Well, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you how to hunt or tell our listeners how to hunt. Just like
Right.
I wouldn't think that you would do the same to me. I think, but being able to hear you say, I don't want to do it for the animal's sake. I don't want to shoot past that because I don't feel that it's right on my behalf. That to me is admirable. That says, yeah, don't get me wrong, I want to go hunting and I want to harvest an animal, but I'm not out there just to harvest an animal.
And that's
I
exactly
care. I love. I have this passion.
Exactly. And there's been, even the one I have on my biggest buck on the wall, I've had bigger ones than that come within 50 or 60 yards without, and then I would even, contemplate, yo, man, you sure you can't poke it? You sure? It's just not, you know what I mean? Like, I am all about, the passion for it's all about the game. You got to respect the game, and like,
yes.
if you don't, man, it's just not even, like, I even have like ex-buddies, like who would go goose hunting, and they would call me like, hey man, I got so-and-so how many ever extra geese, from all of us, do you want any of them? I'm like, yeah, what are you gonna do with them? I'll take them. And like, oh, we're just gonna throw them in the ditch and let the coyotes eat them. I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way in heck, man, I could ever just go out and hunt and not, you know what I mean? I hunt, if whatever I'm hunting, I'm personally do it so I can enjoy eating it, and
Right.
I just couldn't kill something just to kill. That's not me.
Yeah, I believe there's a lack of moral dignity in the idea of being able to go harvest an animal. Now, okay, I can get, not everybody wants to eat a coyote. Like, I can get that, sure, But, generally speaking, waterfowl, deer, ducks, turkey, migratory, birds like dove, and, I can understand people wanting to go out and hunt them because it's enjoyable, but to just toss the meat,
It's just so
man.
disrespectful, man. Yeah, even
like I
with
said, I think there's. Go ahead.
even with even with coyotes, like I obviously, like what you said, they're probably not going to be the best tasting because of what they're eating, so you don't want to eat that
Right.
meat. But I at least will show like I respect them by at least keeping the fur or doing something with it,
Right.
mounting them somehow or another just to show respect to them. Like every single animal I have ever harvested I have always put my hand on them and have said a special prayer thanking them for their life and God giving me the opportunity to,
Yeah.
it's a special thing. And for anybody to think it's just a game, it's just that's not who I am. And it's kind of like how the world's turning, man. There's just no respect nowadays. It's kind of sad.
Oh, you're right. And that goes from person to person and from person to animal. And, like, obviously, I'm an outdoorsman. I don't agree with, like the like PETA groups and other groups trying to shut down, the hunt
Right.
industry. Like, I don't agree with them, but they do say some things that make sense that I'm like, yeah, you're right. And what you just said is, it kind of correlates with that. And the idea of there's that lack of respect for the animal. And it's just sad because, if I don't plan on eating an animal, for one, I don't feel like I should be hunting. That's me, though. This is my deer tag, If
Right.
I'm going to hunt, I'm going to want to eat it. If I don't plan on eating it, before I go hunting, I'm going to have a family lined out that can use the meat.
There you go.
And
Absolutely.
My wife had met a man, an older gentleman, several years ago who said he shoots multiple bucks a year, which here in Oklahoma we're allowed 2 bucks a year. He's like, oh yeah, I'll shoot however many I want. I just literally go cut the head off and leave it to waste.
Oh.
And there was a part of me that I was just like, you
Makes you sick,
greedy. It does. I'm like, you selfish, greedy son of a gun. Like, it made me so mad.
Right.
Because,
I mean, how I think of it, man, is like, how would you like it if someone just did that to you? I'd at least want someone to eat me and just, I'm just going to cut off Orlando's head and just leave him here and just keep his head on the wall.
right. Like, it's like I can't believe the audacity You know,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
like like you said, you know what, you were given it was a God-given opportunity to be able to shoot that animal. Whether people believe in God or not, this is just my personal belief. It was
Absolutely.
a God-given opportunity to be able to harvest that animal. The stars aligned, some greater power, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to take the head and leave the meat to waste. Well,
It's
John,
sad.
the coons and the possums and the buzzards and the coyotes got to eat too. Yeah, they do, and they eat naturally without you having to disrespect an animal that way.
Right, and just leaving it to
and
rot.
I'm just gonna let you know there is a possibility that we catch flack for this, and I hope that's okay with you. You know, because this is going, you know, on our channel and everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that's how I feel. Now, granted, like I said, I'm not going to tell somebody what to do and what not to do with their tags.
Right.
But-
No, as long as you kill it legally and you got the tag legally, you do with it what you want. But I'm in your boat, man. Like, I totally see the respect the game and doing something.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, even if you don't eat it, having someone lined up, like a friend or family, or hell, we would do it. Sometimes, you know, waterfowl's not the best tasting.
Sure.
So what we would do is we got an Asian buddy whose grandfather absolutely loves geese. He just goes crazy for, like, I guess they cut the heads off and eat the heads and brains with it. So I mean,
Yep.
all props to him. So what he do as what we do in trade is we'll trade him off all the geese that we get, and he makes his homemade egg rolls. So the homemade egg rolls and trade for
score.
geese. Yeah, man, that's how I say it too. So even though we're not eating the geese personally, we're at least giving away to someone who's going to, and then we're getting a little bonus at the, you know, in the long run too.
Yeah, it's not going to waste. You know, that's
No.
still saying yes, I know I'm going to go kill this animal, and it's not going to be for nothing. You know, somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to benefit from it. I'm not just going to leave it out into the field to rot. And like I said, I think there's a total lack of moral dignity with people that do that. Whether they want to admit it or not, there is. You know?
Right, absolutely. Yep, no.
But, well, man, we are encroaching up on 96 minutes. I don't want to keep you too long. I think you're an hour ahead of me. It's 8:32 right now. What time is it up there?
Yeah, it's 8:32 here. You're good, my man.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought you were an hour ahead of me up there.
No,
Obviously,
you're
I don't
down
know
there
my
in
time
Oklahoma.
zones.
You said Oklahoma, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's funny. I was just asking my cousin. I'm like, wasn't that where you guys did your? Because they did a high fenced hog hunt down in Oklahoma a few years ago when I was up turkey hunting. I couldn't believe they were. I'm like, you guys are going down there to go hog hunt during turkey season? I'm like, whatever. But no, they did a hog hunt down there, and it ended up being a crazy hog hunt.
You're good.
So what happened was they ended up getting a couple of hogs during the night or something like that. My cousin and my good buddy, so they got theirs, and then they went with another one of their, I think it is a group of EMTs, and they went out with one of their other friends to get them on a hog too, and the hog was running and ended up going behind a tree at the right time when he was taking the shot, and the bullet ricocheted off of the tree and went inside my buddy's eye, just coming centimeters away from his brain. It almost killed him. And then the shrapnel, or not the whatever you want to call it, shrapnel from the tree punctured his lung, and so his lung was punctured from the bark coming off the tree, and then the bullet was inside of, like, their hog hunt turned into a crazy hog hunt. Like so yeah, he about lost it. And what was even more crazy is he, the one who got his hit in the eye, lost his life. He was even a soldier over there in Afghanistan, and he survived all that craziness, and then comes back here and has something like bizarre like that happen. You know what I mean? So like, it's just crazy. You know, you just never know. I know we're a little off topic there, but I just remember hearing the high fence, and then the Oklahoma. I was like, oh yeah, that's where they were at.
Yeah. Oh man, it's crazy to think that stuff like that happens. You know, and that's
You would never expect it.
No, that's an unforeseeable accident, and I would almost put money. Nobody would ever be able to just go out there and recreate that. You know, that is such a
not at
fluke,
all. And then that
one
mess
in a
of
billion.
Right, and really messed with the guy who pulled the trigger's head. Like he didn't mean to do it at all, and it ended up almost killing one of our good buddies. And luckily, thank God, the group, or my good buddy that was hit was with, were mostly EMTs, and my cousin, who was with them, he was if it wasn't for your cousin putting his finger all the way down in the hole that was in my chest, like to block the blood from coming out, like I would have lost my life for sure. And I'm just like, yeah, man, thank God for they happen to all be EMT, so like he got real lucky.
Right. Yeah. That's wow.
Yeah, a little bit. There's another little crazy story, but I got some pretty good hogs out of it, though.
Well, that's. I tell you, we got some pretty incredible hogs down here. I mean, they're not going to be anything like the Russian boars or nothing, but
Sure.
I shot my personal best a few years ago, and I ended up getting it mounted, an absolute stud with some great cutters on them, and don't know a weight. I mean, I don't know a weight. We didn't weigh him, but I can say when we hung him up, his feet were, I can't remember if they were level with my head or if they were a little above my head, but his snout was dang near touching the ground, like just a few inches from the ground, maybe 3-4 inches from the ground. And I mean, I'm right at 6 foot tall, so I'm like, that's a big pig,
That is a very big pig. And what I've been told is if you, they're almost like bears, if you miss that shot, some of them don't immediately run away. If they can figure out where that shot came from, they like to chase you.
They can, and they have. For me, they have. We chase them down here with dogs, and we pursue these hogs because they are such a nuisance animal, and it's fun. But they are a nuisance, but they can be dangerous. It seems like a lot of times they'll do more of a false charge just to scare you.
I gotcha.
That gives them time to haul butt.
Like I'll give them a little intimidation and just okay, now is my opportunity. Go.
Oh yeah, but they now don't get me wrong, they can be very dangerous. I have been launched straight up in the air by about 150 pound hog. That's kind of like our average hog for like a decent sized hog around here. 150 pounds. You see a lot of them, and I have literally chasing them with dogs trying to catch them alive. I have been tossed straight up in the air like I wasn't even standing there, almost like a cartoon. It's kind of what it felt like.
That's freaking scary, man. I mean, you're making it sound like 150 pounds isn't that much, but when you think about a 150-pound wild animal coming at you, like with tusks, like that's terrifying. I don't care who you are.
It can be. Oh, it very well can be. But well, man, we are now over 100 minutes. Like I said, I don't want to keep you from your evening. I've had a lot of fun. I'm really glad that you wanted to jump on and share and talk with us. I've had a lot of fun this podcast. I hope you have too.
Me too, man. I greatly appreciate you guys having me come on.
Yes, absolutely. Orlando, thank you again, man. Guys, be sure to be looking for sneak peeks to this podcast. We'll be posting them to our TikTok, to our Facebook, and our YouTube. Guys, and make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications so that you will be notified when we upload more content. Orlando, thank you again.
You are welcome. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, we will be catching y'all later.